let's jump to one of our crowd hall questions. This question says, do you believe that public awareness of the NSA phone and internet spying scandal will prompt real changes to protect the Fourth Amendment?
You know, I suspect that it will. For the last 2.5 years since I've been serving in the United States Senate, I've raised concerns with regard to some provisions of the Patriot Act and some provisions of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Because these provisions of law, I've argued for the last 2.5 years, have the potential to be abused in such a way that they could result in the deprivation of privacy from the American people, and the government could manipulate information that it obtains, and that information could be used for nefarious purposes, sometimes to manipulate the political system, otherwise to harass and intimidate individual Americans. And you know, we don't have to speculate that the government is doing that now, or that the government is actively engaging in political manipulation, using information that it gains through this information now. We don't have to assume that. We don't have to speculate on that point. What we do know is that eventually it will be abused, as long as our laws are written too broadly to give the government too much power. So what I've tried to do is limit the power of government to spy on its own citizens. I've introduced legislation, a lot of bipartisan legislation, one with Senator Merkley, a Democrat from Oregon, that would make it so that the FISA court, wherever possible, has to issue its legal findings in a public forum. And where necessary, to protect national security, it can issue a summary, but it needs to issue some kind of legal analysis wherever it can. In other circumstances, I've worked with Senator Ron Wyden, also a Democrat, to introduce legislation that would make it so the NSA can't access data that it collects on U.S. citizens without first getting a court warrant, that it can't search through data that it has gathered. It shouldn't be able to do that without a warrant based on probable cause consistent with the Fourth Amendment. So yeah, I think recent events have caused a lot of Americans to realize that these threats are real, to realize that the government does have a lot of power, that we've perhaps given it too much power, and we need to rein it in. So in answer to the question, I think there's a good chance that legislative proposals like those that I've just described will in fact have that effect.
Okay. Let's go to a question.